All right, before we get to my boy Dave Rubin, I need to do something here. We're going to kill something right now on this show. Don't worry, it's not a puppy or anything. You know how we do this segment, This Week in Wokeism? No more. Woke is a bad word. I've decided I don't like it. I'm not using it anymore. It's way too nice and fluffy sounding for these cultural Marxist demons we're up against. There will no longer be a This Week in Wokeism. It'll be This Week in Communism or something along those lines. For instance, we're talking about language here. You want to see somebody everyone's mad at today, but he's using appropriate language to get his people ready? James Carville went on TV, said this.
Mike Johnson and what he believes is one of the greatest threats we have today to the United States. I promise you, I know these people.
Well, you're talking about Christian nationalism.
Absolutely.
Talking about this
is a bigger threat than Al Qaeda to this country. And let me tell you something.
I see you, girl. One, Dave's expression on his face killed me. Two, don't be mad at James Carville. His people fight like they're fighting against terrorists. We don't, because we're fighting against woke. You can sleep in on Saturday and not vote if woke is what you're up against. Dave, I do have to ask, joining me now, my friend Dave Rubin of the outstanding Rubin Report. The look on your face made my morning, buddy. I woke up first thing and saw this, and I just about died. What was going through your head at that point in time?
Jesse, so I should clarify that question was asked in the overtime segment where he specifically asks one guest one question. So you're kind of not supposed to chime in if you're the other guest when that's happening. But yes, my facial expression, I mean, look, I was stone cold, like, what the hell are you talking about? First off, I didn't know that we're worried about Al-Qaeda anymore. I know we got some problems with ISIS, and I know we got some problems with our Hamas kids at college campuses and the rest of it. But if you watch the full extended version of it, which people can find on YouTube, he then went on for about a minute screaming about how bad these guys are, but he never said what they're doing. They're mean and they're bad, and I know them, and I've been around them, and they're bad and mean, and I know them and been around them. And also, he talks real fast. You don't really know what he's saying. He's kind of old and kooky at this point. And, this is just standard. You get it. This is standard Democrat 101. And you got to remember, this is a guy who was in the Bill Clinton machine originally. You just scare the hell out of people when it comes to Republicans. So it almost felt to me like they're pretty much done with Trump, and now it's on to the new boogeyman. And that will be basically Mike Johnson and, Christian nationalism.
Dave, it's hard to explain to people who are politically involved. I mean, everyone who watches your great show, right? Everyone who watches this show, we're all involved. I'm involved, you're involved, everyone watching is involved. It's hard to explain to those people just how uninformed the normal American is, though. And that's why this language is so effective, that they use it over and over and over again. Norm and Norma, they believe this crap.
Oh, they absolutely do. I don't know if you guys have the clip queued up, but if you didn't see it, there was a moment where James Carville also brings up Donald Trump, very fine people on both sides. And I said, well, Donald Trump did say that, but the very next sentence was, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis or the white supremacists. And when I said it to him, he was kind of like, bleh. And Bill was like, oh, he worded it inelegantly. And it's like, wait a minute, you guys for years have been screaming this was the proof that Donald Trump was a Nazi. Not only that, Jesse, do you remember that in Joe Biden's campaign launch video, the video that he announced, that he used to announce his run for the presidency, he said he was running because Donald Trump said very fine people on both sides. So what I tried to do on the show, and you know what it's like going on these cable shows, and by the way, I'm not throwing Bill under the bus here because he brought me on and let me say whatever I want. But on these shows, you have a limited window to get in your good point before it just ends up becoming a screaming match. So to me, it was like you just have to strategically figure out when to say things. And that moment was beautiful because we've all been waiting for somebody on mainstream to call out the BS on very fine people on both sides. And then they don't have much to go against it. He literally just kind of crumbled over in his seat as if I had whacked him with a frying pan, which I was considering doing.
If you want to watch Dave do it, here it was. We actually do have the clip.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Good people on both sides at Charlottesville? Sure. I don't know. Did I hear that or did I make that up? that Trump said there are good people on both sides.
He didn't say that.
He did not. He
said it, but a
I-
sentence later he said, "I'm not talking about the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis."
Well, yeah, after it's like Elon Musk.
It was badly phrased. I think we can agree on that.
I mean, no, and actually in this case, I wouldn't agree with Bill either that it was badly phrased. It wasn't badly phrased. He said there are good people on both sides, meaning the debate about what we do with monuments over controversial people, right? In this case, Robert E. Lee. The next sentence was the condemnation. So I don't know how he could have said it other than not putting a period and maybe putting a comma in the sentence. So, but it is kind of funny to me that even Bill, for years was ranting and raving about this thing. Now it's been reduced to, oh, he said it inelegantly. And that really is proof that if you tell them the truth over time and you do not give them an inch, something you're quite good at, that over time the truth cannot be refuted. And I think hopefully I did a little bit of that on Friday night.
Dave, along those same lines, Robert E. Lee being a controversial figure, it's wild how much the communists will decide the field we play on, and we play on it. Okay, so Robert E. Lee's a controversial figure. According to who? Robert E. Lee's been dead for 150 years. I've never woken up a day in my life and considered him controversial because he's freaking dead and gone, and I'm never going to meet him or any of his ancestors. And the point is not really about Robert E. Lee or the South or the North. It's that we have these debates over the figures they decide are controversial. Why don't we ever have debates about figures we decide are controversial? Where always the debate is on their terms, and that frustrates me to no end.
That's a great point, and we have to change that. It's actually more important than debating what marginal tax rates are or what foreign policy is, that the cultural part of this, that they set the agenda. They basically put the menu in front of us. The menu is not really what's happening in the kitchen. It's just what they want us to see that is happening in the kitchen. And then we end up losing all the time because we don't have the full set of ingredients. We don't know all the proteins that are back there and everything else. We're just choosing off what they've selected. But you're totally right, because of course this will not end with, say, Robert E. Lee or some supporter of slavery or anything else. We know that this will come for Thomas Jefferson, who was trying to free the slaves while also being a slave owner. We know that this will come from George Washington, who stepped down as the head of the army after the War for Independence, even though everyone wanted him to remain the head of the military and the president of the United States because he also had slaves. He only freed his half of the slaves in his will, and Martha kept her half. All of these people have complex histories. Jesse, you're not going to believe this. Jesse Kelly has a complex history, and Dave Rubin has a complex history, and they're not going to be happy with our statues either, which I assume are being built. I don't know where they're going to be, but,
Well, mine certainly should be, Dave, although I don't have a complex history. It's just all bad. It's just a resume of crap. That's really what I have out there. There's nothing to celebrate.
You're going to have one tall-ass statue, man. You're going to have the tallest statue in town. That is for sure.
Dave, you are the best, my man. Go watch the Rubin Report. It's one of my favorite. I appreciate you, my brother, very much.